Okay, State, do you plan on calling any witnesses? Okay, so we're going to turn to the defense, and I'd ask for a team effort here to get the courtroom set up right now. So Deputy Dunkley, I think they're going to want the podium. Who's handling the first witness for the defense? And who's it going to be? And somebody get Debbie in for us. And Ms. Mixon, if you could help out perhaps. And Deputy Dunkley, the podium needs to get moved and the microphone as well. Good morning, ma'am. Come on up. Watch your step, please. Once you get all the way up to the front of the courtroom, if you'd do me a favor, if you'd raise your right hand and face Mr. Clerk for me. Terrific. You're going to have a seat right up there. Watch your step getting into the witness box. And just make sure you speak directly into the microphone. And once you're situated and you're comfortable, if you'd do me a favor, if you'd state your full name for the record and then slowly spell your last name for me.
Deborah Mays, M-A-Y-S.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Mays, is Christopher your son? What do you do for a living?
Nurse.
Okay. And were you formerly known as Vasata?
Yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 49.
And how many children do you have? And what are their names?
Vanessa, Chris, Amber, and Rebecca.
So I want to kind of talk to you about sort of your family tree, okay?
Any objection? Admitted. Defense 1. Thank you.
I wear glasses, but yeah, I can go get it. Mary, Martell, and William Vasata. Vanessa. At 21. Christopher. A year. Amber. He was in jail, but I was at his parents' house, yes. Correct. Yes. Yes. very abusive. Son was probably 4. Yeah, definitely after. Both. I had my nose broken and physically blacked out.
I'm going to have Deputy Dunkley push that microphone a little closer to you. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay.
And then push it down a little, just a hair. All right. There we go.
So you're a young mother with 3 children.
Yes.
So was it from there that you had gone?
Eventually after, I was told, if you ever try to leave me, I will kill you. And I got to the point where I said, you're going to have to kill me because I'm leaving. And I left with my kids. Yes. Linen. It was good. He cared for the children as if they were his own. He did multiple things around the house. He cleaned, he cooked. He was great.
And ultimately, did you
Yes. Rebecca. Briefly. Yes. Yes. High insight now. He sold drugs.
So, how long did you live with Juan?
I don't have any perception of time right now. I want to say Becky was 3 when I parted ways.
And did you and Juan have
Yeah. I don't remember. Okay.
So you started having sort of domestic problems.
Yes. I believe I was at A.G. Holly Hospital, the tuberculosis hospital. I think, yes, I was an LPN. Yes.
And what is your relationship with her?
We were working together. Yes.
Now, let's finish this. So this is Jennifer,
Mhm.
and after the relationship with Jennifer, the relationship with
I did. Yes. Yes.
Now, Juan, he also remarried
Yes.
and had
Correct.
Now I'm going to show you what Mark has exhibit 2.
Any objection? We'll go ahead and admit it.
Now, this is a sort of a chart about where you live, different places with different folks.
Hi.
It's something we talked about and we looked at. So, as we look at defense exhibit 2, we have sort of when Kristen
was actually my home that my mom gave to me.
So you left that,
I did.
had one left to go home with your,
Yeah, she actually had become a roommate before anything.
and then one was your mother's home. Okay, so from there, was there a plan to move to Wasatch?
Yes.
And getting into the home Wasatch?
We went camping, yes. I don't.
Ultimately,
Two of them went to Juan's house and two of them went to my mother's. Yes. I was going to school. I knew there was no way I was going to support them by myself. And at that time, I was done with relationships and moving and just wanting to get it together for my children.
did you ultimately have a relationship with your husband?
Yes.
Were the children separated when you first met, living in the two different homes?
Yes.
But did you get a home together?
Eventually, yes.
And when you did, what happened with the children?
Well, first week we got a villa because it was affordable, and then we bought a home, and I brought all the children to my home to be a family. Yes.
During that time, was Christopher in school?
He was. Yes. He did volleyball, track, triathlons.
And how about neighborhood events?
We did those as well. Block parties for the kids.
Ultimately, did you and
Yeah, she just woke up one day and said, I don't want to do this. Yes.
So now you're living in a home, you have the 3 daughters and Christopher.
Correct.
Do you remember Christopher having some very close friends,
Yes.
including Sandy?
Yes.
And did they live in your house or where did they live?
Yeah. Maybe a mile.
Did there come a time when Christopher started staying with you?
Yes.
Pretty much all the time sleeping there?
Yeah, that was pretty much after Danielle left.
And then you met your daughter.
Yes.
Did she move into the home?
Yes.
And ultimately, they will move out.
Here and there, yeah.
Christopher, did you graduate from high school?
He did.
Did he ever go to college after high school? Did Christopher do anything else after high school?
He was taking college classes. He was going to go to college with a girl he was dating at the time, Lacey. And that didn't work out, so they decided to stay local to take classes.
We asked for a couple of did there come a time when
the children's last name?
Yes,
It was Benia?
yes, the three of them.
Okay. And what did you change it to?
Vasata.
And I'm just going to hand you what I have marked, and I think there's no objection to admit that.
Admitted.
And ask you if that was the final judgment changing the last name.
Correct.
Now, in 2012, was Christopher involved in a car accident?
Yes.
And can you tell us first, how did you learn about it?
I was called and told that he was being trauma-hocked to St. Mary's Hospital.
And did you go to the hospital?
Yes.
And what part of his body was injured?
His head.
I'm going to show you. What I'm marking as Defense Exhibit 4.
No objection. So I'll admit 4. Is it a composite? Ms. Howard, is it multiple pages or just one report?
It is a traffic crash report
Okay.
and hospital.
All right, so we'll call it composite then, A and B.
This is a report from October 27th, 1992. Is that
I believe. 1992, did you say?
2012.
2012.
Oh, okay, yes.
In that accident, was Christopher accident?
Yes.
You know who got this?
I believe I was told it was Luke.
Was Luke somebody you knew?
No, I knew of him, that Chris would say he was going to his buddy's house. I may have heard his name twice.
Was he somebody he knew from high school?
I don't know.
But was it your understanding that Luke was driving, had a rollover crash,
Yes,
and that's how Christopher was injured?
yes,
Did you also learn that Luke ran from the scene, leaving Christopher there?
yes. I believe he was in the back seat and he was actually left in the vehicle.
Until police arrived or somebody
Correct.
found him?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ms. Mays, when you and Danielle were living together with the children, you said you really had a family together, right? Did that include sort of an extended family with Danielle's parents
Very much so,
and other grandchildren they had?
yes.
the best sort of time being able to have a family as a whole?
Yes,
Everybody was together?
correct. Yes.
How did the children get along with each other, Christopher and his sisters?
They were all very close. They protected each other.
Did anything together in the home
Oh, all the time.
by
Yes, yes.
so even though they lived separately and apart from each other, they very much had a close family relationship.
Very much.
And in terms of Christopher with his sisters, what role did he play? Now, this is obviously a very female household.
Right.
So what role did Christopher play?
He was very protective. He was there for them. He was there for all of us. If one of them got out of line with me, he made sure that he would say, "You don't talk to your mother like that."
So he even tried to protect you?
Oh, yes.
When you first moved to Jupiter and Christopher came to live with you, was he a little chubby?
Yes.
But ultimately, because of his involvement in sports, he kind of helped.
Yes. Yes.
Now,
This is a composite.
did there come a time when you took care of a child with cerebral palsy in your home? And what was that child's name?
Parker.
Okay. And was that in Jupiter?
They lived in West Palm Beach, but the mom allowed me to bring them to the house.
Okay. And what was Christopher's relationship like with Parker?
They loved him. They thought he was goofy. Even though he couldn't express himself, you could tell he knew what was going on.
Would Christopher help care for Parker?
Yes, he, I believe, was 80 pounds, so he was a bit much for me to get in and out of cars, and he would always help me put him in his car seat.
Was he kind?
Very. Yes.
What has been marked?
Without objection, that's exhibit 6.
Actually, Mr. Schultz?
No objection.
No objection, I'll admit that.
That picture of
Yes.
his needs.
Before today, when is the last time you saw your son, Christopher?
2 years ago.
And is there anything else you would like to tell this jury that is to decide his fate?
My son's a good kid. I don't know how he got caught up in all this, but I love him.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
State, do you have any questions? Ms. Mays, you may step down. Watch your step. And defense, call your next witness. Yes? She wants to talk to you. Never mind. And so, who are you going to call? Maria Torres, please. Great, thank you. Good morning, Ms. Torres. If you do me a favor, when you make it out past that screen, you're going to see this gentleman right here, and you're going to raise your right hand. Wonderful. Follow Deputy Dunkley. Watch your step. Are you going to be able to get into the witness stand there? Okay, you take your time, ma'am. The chair swivels and the microphone moves, and Deputy Dunkley's going to help you out there, and he's going to put the microphone really close to your mouth there. And once you're all situated and you're comfortable, we're going to pull that microphone down a hair, and then if you tell us your full name and slowly spell it for us.
Maria Magdalena Torres. M-A-R-I-A-M, middle initial. Torres, T-O-R-R-E-S.
Okay. Ms. Kim, you may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Torres. How old are you, ma'am?
67.
And where do you live?
I live in Lantana.
And do you live with anybody else there?
Yes, a friend of mine.
Are you married?
Yes.
And how long?
I've been married for 15 years, but I'm legally separated.
And who are you married to?
Leonardo Torres.
Did you have any children?
Yes, I had 4.
And who did you have those children with?
Miguel Bonilla.
Can you tell us those 4 children's names?
Christopher Bonilla, my oldest. Ricardo Bonilla, Minerva Bonilla, and Miguel Angel Bonilla Jr.
How do you know Christopher Vasata?
My grandson.
Is he your biological grandson?
Yes.
And through which child of yours?
Christopher Bonilla.
It sounds like he was your eldest.
Yes.
You attended parts of the trial earlier this month, right?
Yes, I did.
Prior to that, when was the last time you saw Christopher?
The last time? That day. I hadn't seen him for 20 years.
I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your side of the family. Have you always lived in Florida?
No, I lived in Mississippi.
How did you end up in Florida?
We were migrant workers, and we were coming to Florida to work. That's when I met my husband, and we got married and stayed here.
What kind of migrant work did you do?
We did flowers.
And so you said that's how you met.
Yes.
And how long after you met Miguel Bonilla did you move to Florida?
About 2 years.
You said that you had 4 children with him.
Yes.
And I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about your family's heritage. I understand that your family comes from Puerto Rico.
No, my husband's family comes from Puerto Rico. Yes, we come from Texas, but I was raised in Mississippi.
Do you know who your son, Christopher Bonilla, conceived Christopher Vasata, your grandson, with?
With Debbie Vasata.
Tell us about how your son and Debbie met.
I believe through high school.
Did they both graduate high school?
My son didn't.
And why was that?
He got out of school and went to work.
Can you tell us a little bit about the type of work he did?
He did field work, and then he started doing construction work, drywall.
About how old were Debbie and your son when they started dating?
My mind's not too good, but they were in their 20s.
What were your impressions of Debbie at the time?
Very nice person.
Could you describe her back then a bit more?
Yes, her and my son were always, they would work, come home, and they were always happy, and they lived with me.
And they had their first child, Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Right? And how old were they when they had Vanessa?
I don't remember how old they were. My mind's not,
Maybe early 20s?
in their early 20s, yes.
And when Vanessa was born, where was her first home?
With me
Who all lived there?
in Boynton. My husband and my 4 children, and Debbie.
Do you remember how big that home was?
Yes, it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath.
And kind of where did your son and Debbie and Vanessa stay?
I gave them the big room because they had a daughter, and she was sleeping in there with him in a crib.
So this was Debbie's first child, her first experience with motherhood.
Yes,
Did she seem to you excited to be a mom?
yes.
Describe her as a young mom for us.
Oh, she was very good with Vanessa. They would take turns getting up to feed her, but she was very, very nice. Very good mother.
Did you help Debbie?
Yes, I did.
How would you help her?
I would help her because, Vanessa cried a lot, so I would give her breaks.
Now, about a year and a half later, Christopher was born.
Yes,
So it seems like your son and Debbie got pregnant again just months after Vanessa was born.
right.
Was it the same people living at your house when
Yes.
Christopher was born?
Yes, it was the same people.
And was Christopher your first grandson?
Yes,
We've learned that he was actually born Christopher Bonilla.
yes,
I think, was he a junior?
yes.
And who named him after your son?
Debbie and my son.
Was your son at the hospital when Christopher was born?
Yes, he was.
So there was a lot of other people living in your home, right?
The same ones.
Yeah. How did they receive having these small children, these babies at their house?
Well, they were very happy, and I was happy to have them there, but that's when they decided they needed a home.
That Christopher Bonilla and Debbie needed a home.
Yes,
Okay.
because they had 2 children.
And where did they go?
They rented a house in Boynton.
Was Debbie working?
She was working, if I'm not mistaken, part-time because she was studying
For what?
to be a nurse.
And how was she paying for school?
Between her and my son, they were paying for the school.
Tell us about Debbie and baby Christopher. How was she with him?
Oh, very nice, very good mother, very good mother.
Did you spend a lot of time with Vanessa and
Yes, I
baby
did.
Christopher?
Yes, I did.
And I'm sure you love them very much.
I still do.
You know, even babies and toddlers have personalities, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us what you remember about your grandson's personality?
He had a very nice personality, very nice. And he loved to play with toys, loved to play with animals. My son had a dog, always had a dog around for them to play with him.
Did you give him a nickname?
Yes.
What was that?
His first words was carne, which was meat. So we named him Meathead. My son and Debbie and I, we decided we were going to name him Meathead. And that's how we called him.
And did Meathead like meat?
He loved it. He loved his chicken and pork chops.
Did you also call him Little Chris?
Yes,
There's 2 Christophers in the house.
little Chris.
And what did Vanessa and Christopher call you?
Grandma.
May I approach?
You may.
I have some of those pictures. Oh, yes. Some of these pictures that are in here, I also have them. Especially this one with this outfit. Okay. Yes, they are. Okay. Oh.
What's the number?
7.
7, okay. No objection admitted. Composites, multiple pictures.
It is a composite, sir.
Terrific.
Yes.
And who's in those pictures?
Debbie, Vanessa, and little Chris.
That seems like pretty soon after he was born.
Yes.
I'm going to show you another photograph. Recognize the
Yeah.
child that's in these photographs?
Yes.
And who's that?
Christopher, Amber, and Vanessa.
It seems like your family gave a great deal of support to the young parents, Debbie and their son.
Yes.
What about Debbie's side of the family?
I don't know much about her side of the family.
Were
I
they-
met her mother just one time.
Tell us about meeting her mother.
I met her at a bar. We had just gotten out of work. 3 girls, that work with me. And we saw her at the bar, and she wasn't happy to see me. Do I have to say?
If you could tell us about what happened.
Okay. Well, when I walked in, she didn't, receive me very nice, And she knew I was Christopher's mother. And she started, saying bad words, and she called me a spick. And she said that her daughter would never, never be with him. And I didn't, all I said was if they love each other, they're going to be together.
Now, your son and Debbie got pregnant again a few months after Christopher.
Yes, with Amber.
At that point in time, were Debbie and your son in the new apartment?
Yes.
And where was that apartment?
That apartment was on Forest Hill. And Forest Hill.
Do you remember what city it was in?
West Palm.
And even though they were living apart from your family, did you still see them and your grandchildren?
Every day.
Would you go over to their house, or they would bring?
I would go over to their house. If not, they would come over to my house.
I imagine you spoiled your grandchildren.
Yes.
What would you do for them?
I would always buy them clothes, buy them toys, take them, out to the stores with me. Take
Did you
them to the zoo. I took them to the zoo quite a few times with Christopher, my son, and the kids.
Did you provide child care when they needed it?
Yes, yes. Yes. Yes, he's a little bit older right there. Well, Debbie, little Chris, and Vanessa. And I can't see very well, but I don't think Amber is there. They're little Chris, Vanessa, and Amber. Little Chris, Vanessa, and Amber.
Is that kind of how you remember them?
Yes.
How long did your son and Debbie stay together after they moved out of your house?
I'm going to say about 2 years.
What happened that ended their relationship?
Well, they, my son said that he caught Debbie cheating on him. I don't know if it's true or not.
Did he say who he caught her with?
His name is Johnny. I don't know his last name.
And was Johnny also go by Juan?
Yes.
Did your son stay in Florida after he caught
No.
Debbie cheating?
I asked him, I begged him to leave because he was very hurt.
Were you worried that something?
I was worried because him and Johnny were friends. And, for that to happen, he was very upset. So I begged him to leave.
Did you feel like they might potentially hurt each other?
Yes.
And so where did your son go?
To North Carolina.
And how old was little Chris?
He was about 3.5.
Was your son, even though in North Carolina, able to stay in his children's lives?
No.
And why was that?
Debbie wouldn't let him, have nothing to do with the kids.
Did he also, when in North Carolina, get in some trouble and go to prison?
Yes, he did.
And how many years did he spend in prison?
If I'm not mistaken, it was 12.
And those 12 years all took place when Christopher was also just a child,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Growing up into being a teenager, your son was in prison for all that time.
Yes.
And where is your son now?
He's in prison. He's doing 2 years.
And has he had any more children?
No.
So after your son broke up with Debbie, Did you still get to see your grandchildren?
Yes, yes, they would bring them around.
How often?
Like once a week, she started.
And she brought all 3 children?
Yes,
How long were your visits with them?
sometimes an hour, 2 hours.
Did you provide Debbie financial support
Yes,
even
I
though
would.
she was not with your son?
Yes, I would give her money and buy clothes for the kids, whatever they needed.
About how much money did you give her on a monthly basis?
Well, on a monthly, I would say close to $500.
And we've heard that Debbie then went on to have a child with Juan or Johnny,
Yes. Mhm.
and that's Rebecca.
Rebecca,
Or
yes.
Becky, right? So after she was born, did she also come over to
Yes,
your house?
yes, she did.
Did you treat her as if she were your own?
Yes, I did.
And then did there come a time when you stopped seeing your grandchildren?
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
Well, it was on the 4th of July, and little Chris ran to my son Michael, and Johnny, hit him. And my son, told him not to be hitting his nephew. And they got into an argument, no fist fight or nothing, just an argument. And from there on, I never saw the kids again.
So Juan and your son
Me.
got in a fight over Juan physically disciplining
Little Chris.
little Chris, is that right?
Yes, because he didn't want him around my son.
So then why, after that, why was your contact with your grandchildren cut off?
I don't know.
Well, did you try to have contact
Yes.
with them? What did you
I
do?
looked for him. I looked for him, and I thought Debbie lived with her mom. I would go up and down 10th Avenue and A Street, but I never found him. And then I looked through the schools when they got old enough to go to school, and I never found him. But I didn't know that she had changed their last name.
Did you sometimes spend day after day
Day after
driving
day.
around looking for them?
Everywhere. By the dog track, when I heard that she had moved over there, I drove up and down, and never found her.
And I'm sorry, did you mention that Debbie had to change the children's names a few years later?
Yes, she did.
And I imagine that made it even harder for you to find them.
Yes, it did, because I would call the schools to ask if they were there, and by Bonilla, well, there was no Bonilla there, because I didn't know she had changed them to her last name, Vasata.
What was the impact on you to suddenly have no contact with your grandchildren?
It was very hard, very hard,
How about for the rest of your family?
very hard for all of us.
Did you ever have contact with Debbie again?
No,
Did you ever give her money again?
no.
Years later, was there a time where your daughter saw them on I-95?
Yes.
Can you tell us
Her car
about
had
that?
broke down.
Whose car?
Debbie.
And who was Debbie with?
She had the children.
And so which of your children saw this?
The Minerva Bonilla.
So was Debbie driving on I-95?
She was driving on I-95 and her car broke down. And then I gave her money to fix her car. That I did.
And is that kind of the last involvement you were allowed to have?
Yes.
And then the next time you saw your grandchildren was here in court earlier this month,
Yes, when I started on the news.
when this happened.
Yes.
How did you know, when you said you saw the news, that Christopher Vasata was actually who you knew as Christopher Bonilla Jr.?
I watched the news every day, and when I saw him on the news, I started screaming to my daughter because he looks just like his father when his father was young. And my daughter was running real fast because she was watching the news too, and she says, "Mom, that's your grandson." And I couldn't believe it.
You hadn't seen him?
20 years.
that's how you find out.
That's how I found out that was my grandson.
Do you still love him?
I love him very dearly.
Even though you were cut off from little Chris all this time, you have this opportunity to speak for him.
Yes.
The individuals on this jury will decide whether he's sentenced to life without the possibility of parole or death. Is there anything you want these ladies and gentlemen to know?
Yes. I beg you, don't kill my grandson. I beg you. I just found him after 20 years. Please don't kill him.
That's all I have.
Any questions, State? Ms. Torres, you may step down. Watch your step. Take your time getting out of there. Deputy Dunkley's going to help you. Jurors, while we get Ms. Torres squared away there, what I'm going to do is take a short break. Deputy Dunkley, I want you to give them some menus. I'll buy you lunch today, so we can take an abbreviated lunch break. And so we'll give you some menus, and then we'll go until we make sure the food's delivered. Sometimes it takes a little while. So we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll let the jurors order their food, and then have your next witness teed up, okay? All right, we're in recess.